My brothers literally laughed in my face when Dad's will was read. They got his $22 million tech company, and I got his ancient laptop. Perfect for the family disappointment, my brother Roderick sneered, adjusting his Italian suit like he was already CEO. But when I tried to sell that worthless laptop for rent money, the buyer's hands started shaking. "This isn't just a laptop," he whispered, his eyes wide with something between fear and excitement. "This is evidence that could destroy everything. My name is Dexter Harmon, and 3 months ago I thought I knew exactly where I stood in my family's hierarchy. Dead last, the failure, the son who chose flipping burgers over building empires. While my older brothers Roderick and Sterling were conquering Wall Street, I was perfectly content managing a small Italian restaurant, making people happy one plate of pasta at a time. The morning of the will reading had started with Roderick texting me, "Try not to embarrass yourself today." Sterling had chimed in with his own message, "Wear something decent for once." They'd always been a team, those two. Roderick, at 35, with his Harvard MBA and perfect hairline, running Dad's East Coast operations. Sterling, at 32, Yale educated and ruthless, handling the West Coast division. And then there was me, 28, community college dropout, owner of exactly 2 suits, both bought from thrift stores. The lawyer's office reeked of leather and old money. My brothers sat on either side of our father's attorney, Mr. Whitmore, like they were already dividing up their kingdom. I took the chair farthest from them, the one with the wonky leg that squeaked when you moved. Somehow, that felt appropriate. "Before we begin," Mr. Whitmore had said, cleaning his glasses with unnecessary precision, "your father wanted me to read a personal note." Roderick leaned forward, already calculating his percentage. Sterling pulled out his phone, probably alerting his broker. I just sat there, wondering if Dad had even remembered to include me. "To my sons," Whitmore read, "I leave what each has earned." That should have been our first warning. Dad never spoke in riddles. He was a straight shooter who built Datavault Industries by saying exactly what he meant. But my brothers were too busy mentally spending their millions to notice the odd phrasing. "To Roderick Vernon Harmon and Sterling Pierce Harmon, I leave equal shares of Datavault Industries, including all holdings, patents, and liquid assets, currently valued at $22 million. They actually high-fived. Right there in a law office while reading their dead father's will, they high-fived like they'd just won the Super Bowl. "To Dexter Coleman Harmon," Whitmore continued, and I straightened up. "I leave my personal ThinkPad laptop computer, model T480, serial number VH18851. May it serve him better than his choices have." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Sterling started, laughing. Not chuckling, not giggling, but full-throated laughter that echoed off the wood-paneled walls. "Oh my God," he wheezed, tears streaming down his face. "He left you his laptop, his actual laptop. What are you supposed to do, update your resume?" Roderick was more composed, but no less cruel. "I suppose it makes sense. Dad always said you needed to learn the value of hard work. Maybe you can Google it." Mr. Whitmore slid a manila envelope across his desk to me. Inside was a sticky note in Dad's handwriting, "For the one who sees beyond numbers." Underneath was the laptop, wrapped in an old fleece jacket I recognized from Dad's closet. "Gentlemen," Whitmore said, clearly uncomfortable with my brother's reaction, "there are some additional documents regarding the company transition." "Send them to our lawyers," Roderick said, standing up and buttoning his jacket. "We've got a company to run." They left without saying goodbye. I sat there holding a 9-year-old laptop while they went off to claim their empire. The worst part wasn't the humiliation or even the clear message that Dad saw me as worthless. The worst part was that Mom wasn't there to see it. She would have been the only person in that room on my side. Mom had divorced Dad when I was 10, claiming he'd become someone she didn't recognize. The court proceedings were vicious. Dad painted her as unstable, delusional, a woman chasing conspiracy theories about his business. The judge believed him. She got a modest settlement and a gag order. She got her freedom, but lost her credibility. And when I chose to live with her instead of him, I lost my father and brothers in one swift decision. That laptop sat in my apartment for 2 weeks before the eviction notice arrived. That's when everything changed. That's when I decided to sell the one thing my father thought I deserved, never knowing it contained enough evidence to destroy the empire my brothers thought they'd inherited. The Italian restaurant where I'd spent the last 5 years of my life was called Nonna's Table. It wasn't fancy, just a corner spot in downtown Portland with checkered tablecloths and the best carbonara on the West Coast. The owner, Mr. Benedetti, had hired me as a waiter, but when he saw how I treated his customers like family, he promoted me to manager within 6 months. I loved everything about that place, the smell of garlic and basil that clung to my clothes, the regular customers who trusted me to remember their allergies and anniversaries, the way Mr. Benedetti would sing opera while kneading dough in the morning. My father never understood it. During our rare phone calls, he'd always ask the same question: "When are you going to get a real job?" To Vernon Harmon, running a restaurant was beneath a Harmon man. We were supposed to be titans of industry, not people who served others. But I'd seen what being a titan had done to him. I'd watched him transform from the dad who taught me to ride a bike into a stranger who measured love in stock options and expressed affection through tax-deductible gifts. The day after the will reading, I went back to my apartment, a studio above a dry cleaner's shop that always smelled faintly of chemicals. The laptop sat on my kitchen counter next to a stack of overdue bills. I'd tried to open it once, but it was password protected. The hint read, "The day everything changed." I tried Dad's birthday, the company's founding date, even the day he made his first $1 million. Nothing worked. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "How did it go, sweetheart?" "About as expected," I typed back. R&S got everything. I got Dad's old laptop. She called immediately. "Oh, Dexter, I'm so sorry." "It's fine, Mom. We both knew this would happen. It's not fine. You're his son, too. You deserved better." Francine Harmon was the strongest woman I knew, but I could hear the pain in her voice. She blamed herself for my estrangement from Dad, thought that if she'd stayed in that marriage, maybe I'd have had a father. What she didn't understand was that Vernon Harmon had stopped being my father long before she left him. "How's the restaurant?" she asked, trying to change the subject. I looked at the eviction notice on my refrigerator. Closed. Mr. Benedetti couldn't survive the pandemic. Too many months without customers, too much debt. "Why didn't you tell me?" "What would you have done, Mom? You're living on Social Security and the settlement Dad gave you. I'm not taking your money." "You're as stubborn as your father." "Please don't say that." She sighed. "I mean the good version of him, the man I married, before a data vault, before the money changed him." We talked for another hour, carefully avoiding any mention of my brothers or the company. She told me about her garden, about the new mystery novel she was reading, about her neighbor's cat who kept stealing her newspaper. Normal things, safe things. Neither of us mentioned that my rent was due in 5 days or that my checking account had exactly $47 in it. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and scrolled through job listings. Restaurant manager positions in Portland paid decent money, but they all wanted recent references. Mr. Benedetti had returned to Italy to care for his sick mother. My previous employer had been a food truck that no longer existed. My resume looked like a graveyard of failed ventures. That's when I noticed Dad's laptop again. Even if it was old, it might be worth something to a collector or a vintage computer enthusiast. ThinkPads had a following, especially older models that could be refurbished. Maybe I could get $300 for it, possibly $500 if I found the right buyer. That would at least keep the landlord at bay for another month while I figured things out. I took photos of the laptop from different angles, making sure to capture the model number and its condition. Despite being 9 years old, it looked almost new. Dad had always been meticulous about his possessions. Even his trash looked valuable. I posted the listing on 3 different sites. Vintage ThinkPad T480, excellent condition, works perfectly, $300 or best offer, must sell quickly. Within 10 minutes, I had 5 responses. One offered $200. Another wanted more photos. The third asked if I'd ship to Canada. The fourth was spam. But the 5th message made me pause. I'll give you $500 cash today, no questions asked. My name is Milo Thatcher, and I believe that laptop belonged to Vernon Harmon. If you're his son, we need to talk. I met Milo Thatcher at a coffee shop called The Daily Grind, a place I'd chosen specifically because it was always crowded and had multiple exits. Maybe I was being paranoid, but something about his message had set off every alarm bell in my head. $500 for a 9-year-old laptop wasn't normal. Neither was knowing it belonged to my father. Milo wasn't what I expected. He was thin to the point of gaunt, probably mid-40s, with nervous hands that kept adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. He wore a wrinkled button-down shirt and khakis that had seen better days. When I walked in carrying the laptop bag, his eyes locked onto it like a hawk spotting prey. "Dexter Harmon?" he asked, half standing from his corner booth. "That's me. You're Milo." He nodded, gesturing for me to sit across from him. His coffee cup was empty, but he kept lifting it to his lips anyway, a nervous habit that made me even more uncomfortable. "You look like your father," he said. "Same jawline, same eyes." "Thanks for the reminder. You said 500? He pulled out an envelope and placed it on the table, but kept his hand on top. "First, I need to verify something. Can you open the laptop?" I pulled it out and set it on the table. "It's password protected. I was planning to wipe it clean for whoever bought it." "Don't do that." His voice was sharp, urgent. "What's the password hint?" The day everything changed. I tried everything I could think of. No luck. Milo typed something quickly. The screen unlocked immediately. "How did you know the password?" "October 15th, 2019, he said quietly. "The day your mother filed for divorce." My stomach dropped. "Who are you?" "Someone who's been tracking your father's activities for 7 years. He turned the screen toward me. "Look at this." There was a folder on the desktop labeled Project Phoenix, with dozens of subfolders inside. The names made my blood run cold. Offshore accounts, congressional bribes, FDA falsified data, deleted safety reports, witness elimination protocols. "Your father's company isn't just worth $22 million, Milo said, his voice barely above a whisper. "These files show he was hiding another $45 million in illegal accounts scattered across 12 countries. But the money is nothing compared to what else is here." My phone started, buzzing. Roderick calling. I declined it. It immediately rang again. Then Sterling called, then both of them in rapid succession. "They know," Milo said. "The laptop must have connected to Wi-Fi. Someone at Data Vault realized it's active and what it contains. Your brothers aren't calling to chat." I answered on the 10th ring. "What do you want, Roderick?" "Dex, buddy, where are you right now?" "Since when do you call me buddy?" "Look, we've been talking, Sterling and I, and we realized Dad made a mistake. You should have gotten a share of the company. We want to make it right." "Really?" My voice was flat. Sterling's voice came through. They had me on speaker. "We're prepared to offer you $2 million, Dexter. Cash. All we need is for you to bring Dad's laptop to the office. It has proprietary company software that belongs to Data Vault." "The worthless old computer you laughed at?" "We weren't laughing at the laptop," Roderick said quickly. "We were just surprised. Look, that laptop has sensitive client data. It's a security risk. We need it back." "I'll think about it." "There's nothing to think about." Sterling's voice had an edge now. "That laptop is company property. If you don't return it, we'll have to involve our lawyers." I hung up. Milo was already packing his things. "You need to understand something," he said, pulling out a folder from his messenger bag. "I'm not really interested in buying a laptop. I'm an investigative journalist with the Washington Post. Your father's company makes security software for medical devices. According to these files, they discovered fatal flaws in their pacemaker encryption software 3 years ago. Instead of issuing a recall, they covered it up. He spread photos across the table. 17 faces stared back at me. Men, women, even 2 teenagers. These people died when hackers exploited the vulnerability your father knew about. Their pacemakers were remotely accessed and shut down. Your father knew this could happen, your brothers knew. They signed off on the cover-up to protect the company's IPO. My hands were shaking. You're telling me my father killed these people? Your brother's signatures are on every document approving the cover-up. But there's more. He pulled out another photo. This one I recognized. It was my mother, taken recently. Your mom didn't just leave your father because he changed. She found out about Project Phoenix. She tried to expose him. These files show he destroyed her credibility, had her followed, hacked her emails, and threatened her if she ever went public. I sat in that coffee shop booth, staring at 17 dead faces while my phone buzzed relentlessly. Each photo had a name, an age, a story. Marcus Chen, 42, software engineer with 3 kids. Dorothy Palmer, 67, grandmother who volunteered at the library. Tyler Morrison, 16, high school swimmer who'd just made varsity. All dead because my father chose profits over people. I need to call my mother, I said, my voice hollow. She already knows I'm here, Milo said. I contacted her last week when I traced the laptop to you. She's been waiting for this moment for years. I dialed her number with trembling fingers. She answered before the first ring finished. Dexter? Whatever they're offering you, don't take it. Mom, these files show Dad was responsible for 17 deaths. 23, she corrected. 6 more died after Milo compiled his initial research. I tried to stop your father, baby. I found the first evidence 5 years ago. When I confronted him, he laughed, said I didn't understand business. When I threatened to go to the FBI, everything changed. The divorce? Was his idea. He manufactured evidence of my mental instability, paid off therapists to diagnose me with paranoid delusions, even created fake medical records. The choice was simple. Leave quietly with a small settlement and a gag order, or he'd have me committed. He had 3 psychiatrists ready to testify I was a danger to myself and others. My phone showed 37 missed calls from my brothers. Why didn't you tell me? With what proof? He destroyed everything I had. But I knew he kept records. Your father documented everything, always had. It was his insurance policy, I just never knew where. So, he gave it to me? Maybe he grew a conscience at the end. Or maybe he knew his real legacy needed to die with him. Milo leaned forward. We can stop them, Dexter. The FBI will take this seriously. But once your brothers know what we have, they'll destroy any evidence at the company. We need to move fast. I thought about those 17 faces. About my mother, branded as crazy for trying to do the right thing. About my brothers, who'd stepped over bodies to protect their fortune. They want me to bring the laptop to the office, I said. That's perfect. Milo's eyes lit up. We can use that. You want me to walk into their trap? No, I want them to walk into ours. I've been building this case for years, but I needed the laptop to prove it. Your brothers just gave us the opportunity to get them on record. I called Roderick back. He answered immediately. Finally, Dex, where are you? I've been thinking about your offer. And? $2 million seems low for something you're this desperate to get. Sterling cut in. How much do you want? $5 million, cash, tonight. Done, Roderick said without hesitation. That's when I knew how damaging those files really were. Come to the office at 8. The building will be empty. Just us. I'll be there. After I hung up, Milo made his own call. Agent Rivera, it's Thatcher. We have them. Tonight at 8, Data Vault headquarters. He listened for a moment. Yes, he's agreed to wear a wire. Wait, what? Milo ended his call. The FBI has been investigating Data Vault for 2 years, but they could never get inside. Your brothers just invited you in. This is our chance. You want me to wear a wire to meet my brothers? I want you to get justice for 23 people who can't speak for themselves anymore. I looked at the photos again. Tyler Morrison would have been 19 now, probably in college. Dorothy Palmer would have met her newest grandchild. Marcus Chen's kids would still have their father. There's something else in those files, Milo said quietly. Your father's death wasn't natural. What? 3 days before he died, your brothers changed his heart medication. The new prescription had a fatal interaction with his other medications. Whether they knew about the interaction or not, I can't say. But their signatures are on the prescription override. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too hot. My brothers might have killed our father. The man who gave them everything might have died by their hands. I need some air, I said. Dexter, I know this is a lot. A lot? I just found out my entire family is built on murder and lies. My brothers might have committed patricide. My mother was gaslit and threatened. And now you want me to walk into a building with them while wearing a wire like I'm in some crime movie? I want you to be the one, Harmon, who does the right thing, Milo said simply. I thought about my life managing Nona's table, serving honest food to good people. I thought about Mr. Benedetti singing opera while making pasta from scratch. That was the life I'd chosen, far away from my family's poison. But now that poison had found me anyway. Okay, I said, I'll do it. Data Vault Industries occupied a gleaming 20-story tower in downtown Portland, all glass and steel ambition. I stood in the empty lobby at exactly 8 o'clock, the laptop bag heavy on my shoulder, and the FBI wire taped to my chest, feeling like it might burn through my shirt. Agent Rivera had coached me for 2 hours on what to say, what to ask, how to get my brothers to incriminate themselves, but no amount of preparation could steady my racing heart. The elevator ride to the top floor felt endless. When the doors opened, I found Roderick sitting behind Dad's massive mahogany desk like he'd been born to it, while Sterling paced by the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. There he is, Roderick said, standing with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Our baby brother, finally coming to his senses. Let's just get this done, I said, walking into the executive conference room. Sterling followed me in, closing the door behind us. First, the laptop. First, the money. Roderick laughed. You really have been living in the real world too long. You think we carry $5 million in cash? Then we have a problem. No, you have a problem, Sterling said, his friendly mask dropping. That laptop contains stolen property, intellectual property that belongs to Data Vault Industries. You can give it to us now and take your money, or we can have you arrested for corporate theft. I set the laptop bag on the conference table. Before we do this, I want to know something. Did you know about the pacemaker flaw? Both brothers froze. What pacemaker flaw? Roderick asked carefully. The one that killed 17 people. Or, should I say 23? Sterling moved closer. Where did you hear that? Does it matter? I'm just curious if you knew people would die when you signed off on the cover-up. Business requires tough decisions, Roderick said. A recall would have destroyed the company, thousands of jobs lost, pension funds wiped out. Sometimes the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So, you did know? We knew there was a theoretical vulnerability, Sterling admitted. The chances of it being exploited were minimal. Tell that to Tyler Morrison's parents. He was 16. How do you know that name? Roderick's voice turned sharp. I pulled out the laptop and opened it. Because it's all here, every document, every email, every cover-up. I connected it to the conference room screen. Dad kept meticulous records. The first document appeared on the screen. Termination order, Francine Harmon, permanent solution. Sterling went pale. What is that? It's a contract Dad took out on Mom. He hired professionals to kill her if she went public about Project Phoenix. Look at the authorization signatures at the bottom. Both brothers moved closer to the screen. There they were. Roderick V. Harmon, Sterling P. Harmon. "We never signed this," Roderick protested. "We signed hundreds of documents. Someone must have slipped this in." "So you admit you signed documents without reading them? Documents that might order someone's death?" "That's not what I meant." I clicked to the next file. "How about this one? Request for prescription change, Vernon Harmon. 3 days before Dad died, you both authorized changing his heart medication to something that interacted fatally with his other prescriptions." "We were trying to help him," Sterling said desperately. "His doctor recommended the change." "Which doctor? Because according to this, you overrode Dr. Mitchell's explicit warnings about drug interactions." The conference room door burst open. "Nobody move, FBI." Agents flooded the room, weapons drawn. Agent Rivera walked in behind them, her badge held high. "Roderick Harmon, Sterling Harmon, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and violations of federal medical device regulations." "You set us up," Roderick snarled at me as they cuffed him. "Your own brothers." "No," I said, opening another file on the laptop. "Dad set you up." A video file began playing. Dad's face appeared on screen, recorded just 3 days before his death. He looked tired, older than his years, but his eyes were clear. "If you're watching this, Dexter, then you found the courage I never had. I need to tell you the truth. Your brothers aren't my biological sons. I discovered this 5 years ago through a routine medical test. They're the product of your mother's relationship before we met. She never knew I knew." Sterling's legs gave out. The agents had to hold him up. Dad's video continued. "I kept the secret because I'd already made them my successors. But when I learned what they'd done, the people they'd killed to protect my company, I knew I had to stop them. I'm not brave enough to face the consequences of my crimes, but you are. You were always the best of us, Dexter, the only real Harmon, the only one who chose integrity over income." The screen went dark. The room was silent except for Sterling sobbing. "The laptop was never the inheritance," I said to my brothers. "It was the evidence, and Dad made sure only his real son would get it." The trial dominated headlines for 8 months. Tech dynasty falls, Harmon brothers sentenced to 15 years. Every major network covered it. Every newspaper ran exposés about DataVault's victims, but I avoided all of it. While Roderick and Sterling sat in federal prison, I sat in my mother's kitchen, learning to breathe again. The FBI seized everything connected to DataVault Industries. The company was liquidated, its assets distributed to the families of the 23 victims. Each family received approximately $2 million. It wouldn't bring their loved ones back, but it would ensure their children could go to college, their mortgages were paid, their futures secured. I kept exactly $0 from the settlement. When the federal prosecutor asked why I didn't want my share as the whistleblower, I told him the truth. That money has blood on it. I don't want to build a life on someone else's grave. Mom and I grew closer than we'd ever been. Every Sunday, she made pot roast with those little potatoes I loved as a kid. We talked about everything except the trial. She was finally free from the secret that had nearly destroyed her. Free from the fear that Vernon Harmon's reach extended beyond death. The woman who'd been labeled paranoid and delusional was vindicated, though she took no satisfaction in being right. "I loved your father once," she told me one evening as we sat on her porch. "The man I married was brilliant and ambitious, yes, but he was also kind. He used to bring me flowers every Friday, not because it was special, but because he said I deserved something beautiful in ordinary moments." What changed him? Success? Or maybe success just revealed who he always was. I'll never know for sure. Milo Thatcher won a Pulitzer Prize for his exposé on DataVault Industries. He offered to share credit with me, but I declined. He'd spent 7 years investigating my father's crimes. All I'd done was inherit the evidence. He sent me a signed copy of his book with a simple inscription, "To the only honest Harmon." The strangest part was learning to live without the weight of my family name. In Portland, everyone knew who I was. The Harmon who'd brought down the Wu Harmons. The son who'd chosen justice over blood. Some people called me a hero, others called me a traitor. I didn't feel like either. 6 months after the trial ended, I finally found the courage to start over. I took a loan from a small credit union, the kind that actually reads your business plan instead of just checking your last name. The restaurant I opened wasn't fancy, just a corner spot in southeast Portland with mismatched chairs and hand-painted signs. I called it Truth and Table. On opening night, Mr. Benedetti flew in from Italy. He blessed the kitchen, sang an aria that made everyone cry, and told me he was proud. My mother worked the register, charming customers with stories about the recipes we'd borrowed from her grandmother. Even Agent Rivera stopped by, ordering the carbonara and leaving a $100 tip. The laptop sits in my office safe now, permanently disabled but not destroyed. Sometimes I look at it and think about the weight of truth, how something so small could contain enough information to topple an empire. Dad had given Roderick and Sterling $22 million, but he'd given me something far more valuable, the chance to choose who I wanted to be. I hired 2 of the victims' family members at the restaurant. Marcus Chen's daughter works as our sous chef, bringing Korean fusion ideas that have people lining up around the block. Tyler Morrison's mother manages our books, finding peace in the simple arithmetic of an honest business. Last week, a young man came in during the lunch rush. He ordered the special, paid in cash, and left a note with his receipt. My grandmother was Dorothy Palmer. Thank you for giving her story a voice. I've learned that inheritance isn't about money or property or even blood. Real inheritance is about the choices we make when tested. My brothers inherited millions and lost their souls. They sit in federal prison, writing appeals that will never be granted, claiming they were just protecting shareholder value. But I inherited an old laptop and found my purpose. Every meal we serve at Truth and Table is honest. Every employee is paid fairly. Every customer is treated like family. It's not an empire, but it's mine, built on something stronger than lies and richer than blood money. Sometimes the smallest gifts carry the heaviest truths, and sometimes the best revenge against a corrupt legacy is simply living an honest life. If this story resonated with you, if you believe in the power of truth over wealth, integrity over inheritance, then please like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below about a time when you chose to do the right thing, even when it cost you everything. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories about ordinary people facing extraordinary choices. Remember, your true inheritance isn't what you're given. It's what you choose to do with it.